said, don't mess with the single source parts. This is a severe penalty. We don't take these lightly.
NASCAR didn't hesitate. It struck fast, it struck hard, and it left no room for mercy. Chase Briscoe and Joe Gibbs Racing had barely caught their breath from a strong Daytona 500 showing when the sanctioning body dropped a ruling that sent shockwaves through the garage. A post-race inspection uncovered an issue with Briscoe's car, and the response was swift and punishing. JGR fired back, blaming NASCAR's own supplied parts, but it didn't matter. Briscoe's season was thrown into turmoil before it even had a chance to begin. The question now, can he recover? Chase Briscoe's transition to Joe Gibbs Racing was supposed to be a story of redemption, of new beginnings in a team that had long been a powerhouse in NASCAR. Stepping into the number 19, Briscoe was not just filling a seat. He was taking on the responsibility of continuing the legacy of Martin Truex Jr., a driver who had delivered for JGR year after year. The expectations were sky high, and Briscoe, with his talent and drive, appeared more than capable of delivering. Then came Daytona. The Daytona 500, the crown jewel of NASCAR, was the perfect stage for Briscoe to prove he belonged. And prove it he did. Briscoe shocked the field by securing Toyota's first ever pole in the Daytona 500, an unprecedented feat for the manufacturer. Fans and pundits alike were stunned. Briscoe, in his first full season with JGR, had already carved his name into the record books. He didn't stop there. He fought tooth and nail during the race itself, crossing the line with a stunning fourth-place finish. For many, it seemed as though he was about to light up the 2025 season. But NASCAR wasn't about to let that happen without putting him in his place. 3 days later, Briscoe's fairy tale was shattered. The sanctioning body, known for its unforgiving nature, made it crystal clear success in NASCAR wouldn't be handed out so easily. They sent a message. No one is above the rules. No one. It wasn't about a moment of glory or an impressive finish. It was about control, power, and dominance. And NASCAR wasn't about to let JGR or Briscoe forget that. The race for the title now had a new obstacle: NASCAR itself. Just days after Briscoe's Daytona performance, NASCAR's hammer came crashing down. What had seemed like a bright start to the season for Briscoe and Joe Gibbs Racing quickly morphed into a nightmare. A post-race inspection had revealed a violation, one that sent shockwaves through the entire garage. Briscoe's number 19 Toyota was found to have an altered spoiler base, a critical component that, by NASCAR's rules, cannot be modified in any way. The infraction was as clear as it was severe. Briscoe's car had been tampered with. NASCAR doesn't play around when it comes to the integrity of the sport. One single violation is enough to bring a team to its knees. No excuses, no exceptions, especially when it involves parts like the spoiler, which is a single-source component provided directly by NASCAR. In the world of racing where every detail counts, this wasn't just a minor oversight, it was a blatant rule breach. And NASCAR wasn't about to let that slide. They delivered the harshest punishment possible. The penalty hit Briscoe and JGR with a sledgehammer. 100 points stripped from both driver and owner, a crushing blow that would haunt them for the rest of the season. 10 playoff points eradicated, leaving Briscoe with an even steeper hill to climb if he hoped to make it to the postseason. But NASCAR didn't stop there. A $100,000 fine was slapped onto the team's financials, further tightening the grip on JGR's resources. And as if that wasn't enough, crew chief James Small was suspended for 4 races, a major disruption that crippled the team's ability to move forward. Briscoe's championship dreams evaporated in an instant. From a 4th-place finish in the Daytona 500 to sitting at the very bottom of the Cup Series standings at minus 67 points, the fall was both swift and brutal. NASCAR had sent a clear and unyielding message. No one, not even the biggest teams in the sport, are immune to the rules. And yet, while the rest of the garage watched in stunned silence, JGR wasn't about to take this without a fight. An appeal was immediately lodged. The team fired back, claiming the issue wasn't intentional and that it stemmed from NASCAR's own supplied parts. According to JGR, the bolts used to attach the spoiler base to the deck lid caused pre-drilled holes to wear. The interference between the parts, they argued, was the root of the problem. The modification, they insisted, wasn't a deliberate attempt to gain an edge over the competition. It was an unintentional byproduct of faulty assembly. But NASCAR wasn't swayed. The league's track record of zero tolerance for infractions like this left little room for mercy. The penalty stood, and the message was clear: don't mess with NASCAR's rules. Even if the infraction was caused by a mistake, the consequences were severe. For Briscoe, the road ahead looked much darker than it had just days before. The road to the playoffs, which had once seemed like a straightforward journey, now seemed almost impossible. Even a victory at the next race wouldn't be enough to erase the damage done. NASCAR had thrown a wrench into his plans, and now he would have to fight not just other drivers, but the very sanctioning body that controls the sport. The stage was set. NASCAR had crushed Briscoe's momentum. Would he be able to recover, or had the penalty destroyed his season before it had even truly begun? As the dust settled from NASCAR's punishing decision, Chase Briscoe found himself not just fighting against competitors, but against the very system that controls the sport. The penalty had torn through his season like a wrecking ball, leaving him with minus 67 points, a steep gap from the playoff cut line, and a long road to recovery. What should have been a celebration of Toyota's first ever pole in the Daytona 500 quickly turned into a struggle for survival. But Briscoe wasn't about to let NASCAR's hammer define his season. Despite the crushing penalty, he refused to back down. The appeal filed by JGR became the focal point of the team's fight. They claimed the violation was unintentional, a mere byproduct of parts provided by NASCAR itself. Bob Pockrass reported, "Joe Gibbs Racing will appeal the penalty issued by NASCAR to the number 19 Cup Series team today." The issue in question was caused in the assembly when bolts used to attach the spoiler base to the deck lid caused the pre-drilled hole to wear due to supplied part interference. Joe Gibbs Racing doubled down on their defense. In their own statement, they added, "The modification was not intentional. It was a result of parts provided by NASCAR, and we believe this was a mistake in the assembly process, not an attempt to break the rules." JGR insisted that the modification wasn't an attempt to beat the system, but instead an unintentional consequence of faulty assembly. But NASCAR wasn't backing down either. With zero tolerance for infractions, the organization had made its position crystal clear. Rules are rules, and the consequences for breaking them were severe. Briscoe, now facing an uphill battle both on and off the track, had no choice but to accept the cold reality. NASCAR wasn't interested in excuses. Yet, despite the odds stacked against him, Briscoe has a singular focus: the fight for a shot at the playoffs. Each race now carries extra weight. Every point matters, and every lap counts. With his season at risk, Briscoe has to push forward, not just for a title, but for the chance to prove he belongs. The appeal may have been his only lifeline, but on the track, he knows it is his driving skills that will determine his fate. But the situation isn't just affecting Briscoe. Joe Gibbs Racing, already reeling from the penalty's financial hit and the suspension of their crew chief, now have to figure out how to regroup. They have two major challenges. 1. Recover from the points deficit. 2. Rebuild their strategy to compensate for the loss of James Small, the experienced crew chief who had played a key role in JGR's success. The team's future now seemed uncertain, and every race would be a test of their resilience and adaptability. The next few months will define Chase Briscoe's season. Can he recover from NASCAR's relentless punishment? Or is this the end of his dream to make a splash in NASCAR's elite ranks? With each race, the pressure mounted, but Briscoe knows there is no turning back now. It is a battle of wills, and he will either rise or fall. Chase Briscoe's battle against NASCAR's harsh penalty is far from over. The road to recovery will be long and grueling, with every race carrying the weight of a season now hanging by a thread. Can he defy the odds and claw his way back into contention, or will this penalty crush his dreams? The stakes have never been higher, and with the pressure mounting, one thing is clear: Briscoe's fight has only just begun. What do you think? Will JGR's appeal change the course of this season, or is NASCAR's ruling here to stay? Let us know your thoughts below.